Okay, it's 12:05 and let's get started. So thanks everyone for joining today's live webinar, and the webinar is on creating data strategy. So this is how we actually, if we want to implement any type of data analytics, we want to use business data for the benefits of business, you always need a good data strategy. In this webinar, we will learn what it is, why we need it, and how to actually create a data strategy. And I will try to keep everything as non-technical as possible so that you get the best benefit out of it in terms of understanding the concept. And also, if you need to apply and if you have this background, then you can go and apply this and create a data strategy for your organization, for your own project, and wherever you need to use it. As I said, this webinar is about creating a winning data strategy, especially considering as in today's world, the challenges faced in today's world in relation to data and using data for the benefit of your business, your organization. So the agenda for today's presentation is very simple. We will understand what is data strategy, why is it important? Why do we need to understand data strategy? Why do we need to create an effective data strategy? And the most biggest part of the presentation is the step-by-step process involved in creating a data strategy. Okay, so that's the key agenda for today. And before we actually get started, I'll just give you a bit of an introduction about myself. So my name is Gurpreet. I'm the co-founder and practice director at Align Analytics. So Align Analytics basically is a venture of or a part of Align Technologies. And Align Technologies, the bigger parent entity, we specialize in GRC, in AI technologies, in reporting, and all those things. And then Align Analytics is the branch where we specialize in working with data and helping organizations make the best use of their data to increase their profits and to minimize any losses or any processes they can improve on. So we help organizations use their data for their advantage. That's what we do at Align Analytics. So personally, I have around 20 years of experience in this field from strategy perspective, from functional knowledge perspective, and also technical perspective. Before starting with Align Analytics, I have worked with organizations like JP Morgan, Lloyds Bank, Bristol University, Tesco, Schneider. So quite a few different types of domains, which allowed me to work on different varieties of data and different types of challenges because these organizations all differ. So a investment bank and a retail bank and a retail business, especially a retail giant like Tesco, Schneider Electrics, all these working on this and learning about their work cultures as well, how companies are using data, what sort of their work culture is around data and how much data-driven decisions are they making. So having all that vast experience now allows me to help businesses in this role as a practice director to use data for their advantage. So I also love sharing knowledge openly with people who are interested in learning, who can benefit from it. And this is an effort, this webinar is an effort in the same direction, and we'll be doing more webinars. So you can follow me on LinkedIn and you can visit our website. I'll share the links at the end to learn more about Align Analytics and also to stay in touch with any sort of upcoming webinars. So look at this slide here. So this slide here shows how the volume of data has increased over the years. So if you see 2010, that's like two zettabytes, and now it's 181 by 2025. And if you see the rate of growth, it's almost exponential growth that is happening in terms of the data that is being generated by businesses. Now, why is that happening? I guess some of these factors are quite evident. We know that, obviously more customers, more digitalization of every service, businesses creating more and more apps. Also, there are more digital devices available. So every interaction is being recorded. So like, your purchasing anything online from businesses, any browsing you do on any website, everything is being recorded. So when you work on any applications within your organizations, whatever you do there, you are leaving an audit trail. So everything is being recorded. There is so much data. And on top of that, the technology keeps on advancing. So we have things like the say social media. So social media, anything you do on there, you like a picture, you tweet, whatever you do is being recorded. So there is so much data being generated every day. And on top of that, we have things like IoT. So those IoT devices, or let's say in terms of sensors, say any sensor that is there, suppose there's a sensor to track something. So there's continuously that sensor is generating data, which is being recorded. So this is like streaming of data. And also we have sort of traditional, apart from the traditional data, which you think of in terms of, say, tables with the rows and all those, which you might have seen in an Excel file. So that is like structured data. But apart from that, now more and more data is unstructured data, like videos. So we have in UK, we have lots of cameras on our highways and roads everywhere. And it's yeah, quite surprising how many cameras we have and how government uses it. But at the back end, so there is a large effort there to continuously monitor all these video feeds. And then there is artificial intelligence built on top of that, so that they can then send fines to people and do all those things that happen. So, tracking whether somebody's vehicle is taxed or not. So there is, the number plates are being read and recognized, and all these things are happening in the background by machines. So that is how data is being used. But at the moment, we're trying to understand that there is lots and lots of data being generated, and the volume of data being generated is increasing every year exponentially. So there is a lot of data available to businesses. Now, the idea is that because we have so much data being generated for every type of business, say whether it is a retail business, an e-commerce business, or a food and beverage business, fashion, finance, automobile, tourism, sports, education, every sector, every business is a data business now. Every business is generating data. Now, the difference is that all businesses are generating data, but some businesses are using it and taking the benefit out of it, while others are not. And also, it's not a yes and no kind of thing. It's not binary. It's on a scale. Some businesses have been investing in this for years and years, and they are quite advanced up ahead the letter in terms of their maturity, how much they benefit they take out of the data, whereas some might be just getting started as well. So it's like if you think of it as a scale, it's some people are at the very beginning, where some companies might be very well advanced, where they use predictive analytics instead of just looking at data, what has happened in the past. They use data to predict what will happen in the future as well. That's where things like artificial intelligence and machine learning comes into picture. Now, all these companies, every business is generating lots and lots of data, and that we understand, but it is not enough to just have data. So if a company collects lots of data about their customers, what they purchase, and all those things, the data itself is not useful, because there are millions and millions of rows. You can't manually look at the data and find anything meaningful out of it. So just collecting data is not enough. Data is there, but then we need to take advantage of the data to help make data-driven decisions. So when we use this word is used quite often nowadays, data-driven decisions. So what is a data-driven decision? So think of it as, say, traditionally, if somebody needed to make a decision, they will use their experience, past experience. They might look at some of the data, and then they will go some of it with their gut feeling, and they will decide, okay, this is the type of thing or sort of strategy we will take to grow our profits. And it's a lot of intuition-based decision making there rather than the data-driven. So suppose a store needs to have a strategy around how much inventory they should keep. Now, if it is data-driven, it will be based on what's the sell-through rate of a product, and what's the lead time to get something into the store, and all those things. If whatever data is required to make the decision, that will be presented in an insight form, where the business decision maker who needs to make a decision will look at it, and they will know, okay, this much of this product of this quantity in this quantity should be ordered this time kind of thing, or this much ahead of the time. And that's how the decision will be made based on real data instead of hunch. And that basically obviously will prevent any wastage, because you're not, suppose it's fresh food and you order extra fresh food in a store more than what usually sell through there, then there will be a lot of wastage. Fresh food, really small shelf life. And then also think about, say, clothes perspective, then you need a lot of storage space if you order extra inventory which you really don't need or don't sell through. So also, say, weather wise, in stores you have stock of items based on the weather that is there. And also there will be advanced analytics. So an organization which is really advanced will be using predictive analytics. They will predict, okay, the summer is going to be really, really hot these months, these weeks, and then they will prepare what will be ordered into the stores. Do we need more ice lollies this year than last year, because this summer will be really, really hot? So all those things. So there is so much value hidden in the data, which can only be driven by creating a strategy and then using it to deliver the processes and insights. Then that can be used by the decision makers to make informed decisions, whether it is to increase profit or to improve processes. And we will look at what are those key matrices or key things we can improve through this data analytics and data-driven processes. If we want to simplify how we use data in business, think of it 3 steps. We have the raw data. You collect it, you prepare it, and you present it in the form of insights. And then those insights are used by the decision makers to make the right informed decisions. So that's a 3-step process, very, very simplified. So data, raw data, not very useful in the raw form. You prepare it, clean it, cleanse it, and then you analyze it, and then you present it in visualizations which are meaningful. And then from those meaningful insights, the decision makers make decisions, and then they use those to, as I said, grow their business, improve their processes, improve customer satisfaction. So many things you can do, basically cover all aspects of your business through this data-driven decision making. Okay, so now when we talk about using data, you have to remember that it's not as straightforward as look in those 3 sort of boxes, data, insights, and decisions. Whenever you implement any type of data analytics and then decisions on top of it, it comes with its own challenges. There are companies, I recently spoke to a director of an organization which has spent 8 million euros on their data analytics setup, and they outsourced it to another company, and that company spent 3 years creating this whole platform in the field of supply chain. And that whole data output they got out of it, the insights they get out of it, basically are not accurate. So once they discovered that this is not accurate, it's not reliable, basically the decision makers don't trust that, and they stopped using it. So all this effort, all this money was spent, but because the output was there, it looked pretty and all those things, but it was not reliable. So there could be so many things that can go wrong when companies try to implement analytics and create insights and use it for decision making. So the most important thing there is that it has to be accurate. If it's not accurate, people will not trust the output coming out of your whole process. So another thing is it should be timely. If it is stale data, it's accurate, but it's old, it's not relevant today. What's the point? So there are so many challenges that are there when companies try to implement this data-driven decision making. Okay, let's look at some of these. And if you already work in this field, you might have already come across some of these challenges. So say inability to make timely data-driven decisions. As I said, sometimes you don't get the data at the right time. Then basically it's pretty useless. Sometimes data is stuck in silos, basically. So you have one data sitting in one system, another data set sitting in another system. They don't talk to each other. And then because of that, you don't get the complete picture. So that is one of the, I think, bigger challenges when it comes to working with data, because companies use so many different apps, so many different softwares nowadays to do different functions. So there might be a separate for managing the production side of things, and there will be another application to manage the human resources side of things, and then there is a customer CRM platform for managing the customer relationships There is all the digital marketing data for the company. So all these data sets sitting in so many different platforms, and they're all in their own databases, that it becomes challenging to bring it all together so that we can see what is impacting what is the relationship between them, and all those things. So those are the types of challenges we want to deal with and actually prevent anything going wrong at the end through creating a data strategy. So all these challenges get addressed when we create an effective data strategy. So data quality of the data access issues, lower adoption of technology. So as I said, that business example I gave you, it's a IMCD group. So basically, they invested all that money, but because the data was not reliable, the outcome that was coming out of it, the insights that were driven from it, were not reliable. So business people were not using it. So decision makers stopped using it. Also, the same reason, low or no confidence in reporting. As I said, if the data is not reliable, output is not reliable, there's less confidence in it and people don't use it. Now, based on whatever we learned so far, the question is, how do we harness the power of data-driven decision making? So we know that we have all this data, all the companies, all the businesses have lots and lots of data, and they want to use it to make informed decisions. How do we harness this power, basically, of this raw data? How do we derive those insights? What is the strategy required? So that's the key question here. And the simple answer is, so here is a metaphor of a mountain. You need to create a map, basically a plan with the end in sight. So that's the peak I want to reach. So similarly for businesses, it will be a case of their business goals, certain profits they want to hit, or they want to reduce their wastage, or they want to improve customer satisfaction. So there is some end goal, there is a strategic goal. So you keep that goal in mind, and then you create a path how our data analytics efforts can help us achieve those goals. So that, in a nutshell, to understand the strategy piece, is how do we use our data to derive insights that helps us in achieving our business goals or strategic goals, basically. So that's, in a nutshell, if you were to understand what data strategy does there. Let's look at more of a formal definition of data strategy. So data strategy basically is a plan, a guiding plan that defines the people, the processes, and technology that is necessary to solve data challenges and support your business goals. So three key pillars there: people, processes, technology. Everything has to be set up correctly, aligned well with each other in order to basically then give us the insights that will help us solve our data challenges and also support our business goals. So twofold benefits, three key pillars there: people, process, technology. As part of strategy, you address all these things. So you plan for all these things. How will everything align well so that in the end we get the desired effect out of these insights of, as I said, either increasing your profit, improving your process, whatever it could be. Okay. So that's the data strategy. Now, let's look at how businesses are using, or the key areas where businesses are using data and data-driven decisions to improve their business profits, to sort of meet their strategic goals, and all those things. So these are, first and foremost, improve decision making. So having a coherent strategy and then having it implemented allows people and organizations and business leaders to make better decisions because it's coming based on accurate data, timely data. Okay, create better products. So if a company is into creating products, they can look at the data and they will see the insights. What is the demand basically there in the market? How can they improve things when compared to the competition? So what's the competition doing? And bring in all these things in the form of insights so that the decision maker can decide the roadmap to make better products. So that's, again, data-driven decisions. They are not based on guesswork. Also to improve business processes as well. So all these things could be improved if you create a data strategy, implement it, and then build your whole data pipeline on it to create the right type of insights. So you can understand your customers and markets better. So something called as customer segmentation. So basically businesses, say Sainsbury's. So Sainsbury's, if you're not aware, if you're not from UK, it's a huge supermarket chain in UK. So Sainsbury's basically sells so many products. Now they want to increase their sales, okay? Or they want to have more loyal customers who come back more often to buy, and also who basically spend more, so their lifetime value is more. That will help them increase their profits. So first you need to identify what different segments of customers are there, who come. All these people shop very often, spend more. All these people are new customers. They're not spending enough. And there are people in the middle who spend a bit and they're not that regular, but they do shop often at Sainsbury's. Now, let's say Sainsbury's wants to target that middle section there of people who shop there. They don't spend too much when compared to the, customers spending a lot of money, and also they don't shop often. That means they go to other shops for their other needs. So you can basically perform a analysis around these customers and segment them and find out who these customers are, and then target them through marketing campaigns to bring them more often into the store, the products that they're not buying. So suppose they're not buying breads from, say, Sainsbury's, but usually everybody needs breads, so they're probably going to Lidl or another store to buy their breads because it's cheaper there. So what Sainsbury will do is will target these customers with specific campaigns, will give them offers to allow them and help them to buy and try their products, and some of those will then start shopping those products more regularly from Sainsbury. So it allows you to create those targeted campaigns. So that is to give you an idea of how companies use this analytics side and these insights to make those data-driven decisions. Companies can create better services, so customer satisfaction can be improved. And also there are certain businesses which use their data as the source of revenue. So companies like Google, basically. So Google collects all this data about people who use their websites, whether it is the say YouTube, or it is a web browser, Google, and all this data is being used for advertising. So people and businesses and companies buy advertising on Google to reach their target audience, and Google has that data available in terms of the target audience. So again, they are using the data as a source of revenue. So all these 6 business opportunities or use cases are there to use data and harness the power of data to improve and increase business profits and other things that we mentioned over there. Now, how do we start working on a data strategy? So this is a 4-step process overall. Let's look at it. So first one is we want to identify the opportunities within our business. Okay, so do we have an opportunity to improve customer service? Our customer service is quite poor, we want to improve it. Or do we have an opportunity to increase our sales? So we identify the opportunities, and it will depend on the business organization, what it does, where it is in terms of the maturity of their data analytics and all those things. So that's step 1. Step 2 is to complete a opportunity template. So I'll go through that. What are the questions involved? For each opportunity that you identify, you complete this template, and then once you have collected that data around all these opportunities that you identified, then you go and create your data strategy template, and that basically becomes the plan for implementing it. And then you implement it, execute your data strategy. And it's not a case of you do it once and you forget about it. Basically, it's an ongoing process. Once you implement it, you review what is working, what is not working, what can be improved further, and then it's basically goes on to its journey. It takes a life of its own. It's because technology keeps on changing. New data sources will keep on coming into picture. There's always an opportunity to add new types of insights. The business leaders might come up with new questions. So there is always this continuous process of improving existing solution in terms of your data analytics, and also adding new functionalities on top of it based on the new business challenges and requirements, and also new strategic goals. So let's look at the step 1, which is to identify the right opportunity. So as I said, every business has certain opportunities that they can benefit, basically they can use once they have identified to create a strategy and then improve their business profits. So let's look at this, how this will work. So usually what you do is when you're on this first step, depending on the size of the organization, size of the challenge, the maturity level of the organization, you usually start with a brainstorming session. And in this brainstorming session, what you do is you brainstorm around what are the sort of opportunities at the moment in terms of using the data to make informed decisions and data-driven decisions. So, say, as I said, if it is a business which is into retail, how they can increase their sales in result to increase their profit. Or it could be more sort of drill down into the marketing side of things, how we can improve our marketing, online marketing, to bring more leads for the business. If it is an e-commerce business, how they can bring more traffic onto their website. So all these things. So you basically go through and identify all these questions that can be answered through data to make informed decision around the strategy for that particular piece. Okay. So what you go, and this is kind of free flowing. You don't limit here in terms of the type of questions you can ask. It's basically, and depending on who is participating, they will come up with their own domain knowledge, their experience of the challenges they are facing, the opportunities they can see, what the competition is doing, all those things, and what new data is available to them. And then basically you come up with a list of these opportunities. Okay. Any opportunity that gets identified, you find a link of that opportunity with the 6 use cases that we discussed over here on the slide, which was to improve decision making, create better products, improve business processes, understand customers and markets, create better services, and create revenue from data. So each of that opportunity, we'd find the link of that opportunity with one of these business opportunity types that we have listed here. Okay. Also, against each opportunity, you have to identify and mark it as whether it is a quick win. Is it something we can do really quickly because we already have some capability, we have that data source already identified in there in place. We just need to create new analytics on top of it and then start sharing the insights. So that could be a really quick one. And tools like Power BI allow you to do this really quickly, basically. So there are new tools and technologies which are available to do all this really quickly. Or it could be a major transformation. So if it is an organization which has never used IoTs before, they don't know. So they basically have a supply chain, but they can't track what is where. So they now implement the IoT devices, sensors that go into their products, and then they can track each and every shipment so that they know what is where, if there are any delays and all those things. So that will be a major transformation project because it will involve hardware as well and software as well, because they don't have the data available at the moment. They need to invest into first capabilities that will allow them to start collecting the data, and that can be analyzed, and then decisions could be made. So that's a bit of a long-term project. So there could be quick win or major transformations, those 2 categories of projects. And then for each of the opportunity, you go and complete the opportunity template. Okay, so let's look at what is this template. So what are the questions that you need to answer for each opportunity? Okay, one by one. So these are questions, around 11 questions that you need to answer for each opportunity. You can document them in an Excel spreadsheet for all your opportunities, or you can document in a tool of your preference, could be a Word document as well. So whatever you feel like, you collect all this information. This is usually a role of the data strategist because they have that experience around it, how to collect this information, what questions to ask to get those insights or extract those insights from the business users. So basically here, the first question is, how does it link to a strategic goal? So if an opportunity is something you have identified, you think this is important, but it doesn't link with any of the strategic goals of the business, then you don't want to work on it because you might generate some insights out of it, but if the business doesn't need it, what's the point? So you don't want to waste time around those type of opportunities which you think you can create, but they don't contribute towards the business strategic goals and help them achieve those goals. So that is one important thing. That's the first thing we do. Next is, what's the objective? What does this opportunity allow us to do? So you identify that and write that. Then how will we measure the success of this opportunity? As I said, say example is that a business wants to attract more customers into their store, and they basically implement something around how they can get more customers who are passing by to come into the store to see their products. How can they increase it? And they basically implement a video feed, which is being analyzed. They analyze how many people look at their shop window and then come into the shop, how many don't. And then you basically do some surveys around what attracted them to come into it. And then from there, you create some insights and then improve that, basically, whatever improvements need to be done at the store level to then help bring in more people to come into the store when they are passing by. So things like that. Then you basically measure that. You will measure, okay, month over month, how much improvement has happened, or week over week, what improvement are we seeing? So there has to be some measure whether whatever we did is working or not. Next question is, who will be the owner? Now, within a business, especially big businesses, big organizations, large organizations, you need a sponsor, somebody who buys into this solution and is ready to invest the time and the money and the effort and all those things that will go into it to allow that to be implemented. So that's, you need upfront. You can't, plan it and then nobody's interested in it. So this is somebody who will sign up on everything. Then we will understand who will be the customers, who will actually use this, whatever insight we're going to generate, who is going to benefit from it, who is going to make decisions based on it. So that needs to be identified and documented. Then we start looking at the data side of things. So we looked at the strategy, then we looked at the people side of things, who's the owner, who's the consumer. Now we look at the data side of things. What data is required in order to deliver those insights? So you identify the data sources, all those things. Also, you ask the question, is this data already available, or is this something we have to create a process to start generating the data as well? Sometimes the data may not be available as well. Once we've done that, then we cover the piece of data governance. So as we looked at the challenges, the data quality of if your reporting is not good, nobody will trust the insights. So basically, whatever efforts you put in will be wasted. So data governance allows us to create a system or processes around our solution that allow us to maintain the solution accurately, allow us to look at the security of our solution so that the right people get access. You don't want to give access to data to everybody. So because there are laws against it, not everybody can have access to every data. Within the companies, there are various hierarchies. A manager might have access to a different level of data, whereas a worker will have a different level of access. So all those things. So how do we govern it? Basically, how do we control it? That is basically set up here. For a smaller organization, it's a smaller piece. For a bigger organization, needs more effort. So there's a whole piece around data governance that needs to be captured. Then we look at how we're going to analyze the data. What KPIs are we going to generate? KPI is a key performance indicator. So what sort of KPIs are we going to use? Then can be then visualized, and that will help the end user, the business decision makers, to make the informed decisions. Okay, that gets defined here. And there's a whole process. So I'm summarizing some of these things so you understand what is involved in creating a data strategy. Each of these questions is a whole process in itself. So analyzing how do we analyze the data and create insights? It's a question that needs its own documentation. Then we look at the technology requirements. So based on the opportunity, what technology requirements are there? Do we need to create a new data warehouse? Is it going to be on premises? Is it going to be in the cloud? Whatever, do we need to implement a new BI tool, a data visualization tool, and all those things? So what are the technology requirements that gets documented here? Then also, it's not enough to have the technology, but not have the right people to deal with it. So basically, what skills and capabilities are required? Do we already have those in-house? Do we need to outsource this piece, or do we need to hire new people to deliver on this data strategy? And then also, you preempt what will be the challenges, what will be the issues that you could face when you basically implement this data strategy. So by answering these questions and documenting those, you will have enough information against all your opportunities. And then it's a case of looking at these with the team, which was participated in the brainstorming, and also the owner of the strategy, and also the consumers as well. You narrow it down to a short list. So usually when you're getting started, probably you will pick 2 to 3 quick wins, and you will have 3 to 5 sort of major transformations that could be implemented. It all depends on the budget and all those things as well. So various factors. You can't really always go that, okay, we'll always have 3 of this and 5 of that. It basically depends on the business requirements, but you identify those few quick wins and few major transformations, and you record various things against them, which are, this is the piece where we are now creating the data strategy. So we have collected information around what we want to implement. Now is how we're going to implement it. So that's this data strategy piece. And you basically have 5 key areas that you need to cover as part of your data strategy. You already have all this information, what you want to create, what technology is required, what data, and all those things. Now you organize in a different way for all the use cases and opportunities next to each other. So first is sourcing and collecting the data. So what data we need, how are we going to collect it, what are the requirements around it, what access and logins do we need, and everything basically. Or do we need to create a new storage for data? Are we going to use existing data wherever it is stored? All those things. That's technical requirements being captured there. Then the data governance, ethics, and trust. As I said, you document all that piece in terms of the access of the data. You want to prevent people changing it by accident. The refresh rate of the data, how often the data gets refreshed from the source system. So things like that, that gets documented as part of that. Then you look at turning data into insights. So this is where you convert that raw data into the relevant insights. So it goes through the whole process of cleaning your data, preparing it, modeling it, analyzing it, and visualizing it, and then sharing it basically. And then creating a technology and data infrastructure. So what infrastructure, what technology is required in order to do this whole solution, implement this solution, that gets documented here. And then building data competencies. So this is the part of either outsourcing the work to another third-party provider, or you already have the expertise in-house, or you need to retrain or upgrade their skills. So you prepare that. And also if you need to hire new people with new skills as well. So that gets taken care of here. You document everything so that the business can make an informed decision which opportunities they want to implement now, which they want to implement later, because this will now give us a better idea of the timelines for each opportunity, the budget involved, and all those things that allow the business to make their decision around their data strategy, and then have a plan for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years plan around this whole data strategy. And usually businesses will go through this, say, depending on where they are on their data strategy curve, how mature they are, they might be doing it every year, they might be doing it every 5 years as well. So once we have done that, then it's a case of now we have the data strategy ready. We know what we want to get as an output, who will benefit out of it, and all the information required to create that output. Okay, so you created the data strategy, but it's not enough to create the data strategy. The most important piece is executing the data strategy. So we have created it, and now it's a case of implementing this whole solution, and it gets monitored, the progress gets tracked. So there are project managers involved, there are data analysts working on it, business analysts, few people involved. This whole solution gets implemented. And even after all this care, then things will fall through or things will fail. And that always needs to be monitored. What is not working in terms of why certain insights are not being trusted. All those issues are continuously being looked at and fixed. But if you do the initial step of collecting information about each opportunity in detail, all these issues that come later could be avoided in terms of stale data, in terms of not having the right access and all those things, because usually if you follow those steps, all these things could be avoided. But people cut corners. Companies don't go through this whole process. They go by their hunch. They think, okay, this is the new shiny sort of tool. We will implement it and we'll create all these reports. So companies basically sometimes take shortcuts, or they get bad advice from people who are advising on them on data strategy and all these things. So that basically results in failures. And basically, once you have created everything, then it's a case of educating everyone, spreading this knowledge to the people who need to use this insights, who can use these insights, so that the organization has this culture of data-driven decision making. So the right data needs to be in front of the right people at the right time. So that is another piece that comes in there. And then as part of this whole maintaining the solution, you revisit it because there might be a new software that got implemented in that piece, and then companies might need to bring in that data into their solution and all those things. So revisiting it, reviewing it, maintaining it, and upgrading it continuously. So that is all part of when you implement a data strategy. So a lot of talking so far. I'll catch my breath now, but thanks for staying with me so far. I hope you have learned some useful information about what is data strategy, why it is important, and what goes into creating a data strategy. So really, really thanks for joining this session. On this slide, there's the link for the website, so you can learn on Align Analytics, what we do, what solutions we provide. You can get in touch with me over there or our company. And also you can follow me on LinkedIn. So my LinkedIn link is over there. And I love sharing knowledge and information about data analytics, data strategy, all that piece for businesses and individuals. So if you are somebody who wants to learn more and improve your knowledge or implement certain things, do follow. And if you have liked this webinar, if you got value out of this, make sure you go and share on the social, on LinkedIn. There's a post there. You can basically share your feedback there. Also, you will receive an email. You can share your feedback through that email as well. So that concludes this webinar in terms of the topics I wanted to cover.